Sonnet 80, the 5 steps. Step 1, read the rhyming couplet. Then, if he thrive and I be cast away, the worst was this, my love was my decay. Sounds like we're talking about the poet's in love, but maybe his love loves someone else. So maybe a bit of a triangle thing going on here. Step 2, the last words. Right name, might, fame. So maybe he's talking about poetry. Name, maybe your name, my love. Is, bear, his, appear. Is and his, it's hard to make too much of that other than it being about some relationship. But actually the his probably refers to the third party in this triangle we suspect is going on. Afloat, ride, boat, pride. Afloat. I've not heard Shakespeare use that word before in the sonnets. Afloat, ride, boat, pride. So maybe he's being kept afloat by his pride, the boat of his pride. I don't know. We're just looking for words that stand out to give us a clue to what the sonnet's going to be about. Away, decay. So something away, maybe something's finished, going away. And what's decaying? Well, probably his love. The next step is breaking up into sections. So we'll put a line under every fourth line. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, then you've got the rhyming couplet. So it splits into 4 sections, which is this kind of thing, like that. Then we'll do the breaths. So to mark the breaths, first we start off with the start and the end. So forward slash at start, forward slash at the end, like that, because you're going to breathe at the start and at the end. Now let's look for the full stops. Usually to be found at the end of every 4 lines, at the end of every quatrain. A sentence ends with full stops, exclamation marks or question marks. And yes, we have an exclamation mark at the end of line 4. We have a full stop at the end of line 8. We have a colon at the end of line 12. But let's just do the sentence endings before we do the colon. And I bet you in another version of this, it'll probably be a full stop. This is the MIT version that I've downloaded on their site. Okay, no other sentence endings. So let's technically assume that we will breathe at the end of each quatrain. Now, an even sonnet, you'd breathe at the end of every other line. So let's see if line 2, line 6, line 2 we've got comma. Let's assume that's a breath. Line 6 we've got a comma. 8, line 10 we've got a semicolon. Definitely a breath, I would say. Okay, now we're going to do the next step, which is the césures, the natural break between the line. To be or not to be, that is the question. Our first line here is, oh how I faint when I have you do right. So, oh how I faint when I have you do right. So we're looking for the phrases. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? There's an example. Line 2, knowing a better spirit doth use your name. So after spirit, and in the praise thereof spends all his might. And in the praise thereof, césure, spends all his might. To make me tongue-tied, we've got a comma after tongue-tied. So we've got a comma on the césure. So I'm just showing you how I've marked the césure, so the break in the middle of the line. So I'm going to flash up the rest of the césures, but you get how we're doing this. And we're going to cut to the rhyming couplet. Then if he thrive, césure, and I be cast away, the worst was this, and we've got a semicolon here on the césure. My love was my decay. Okay, just marked in the césure, so let's see how it's sounding. This pen thing's a bit annoying. Oh, how I faint when I have you. I'm going to change that césure to oh, how I faint when. Even though technically it would be after the 5 syllables, go for the sense, not the technician, if you've got to make a choice. Oh, how I faint when I of you do right. Knowing a better spirit doth use your name. And in the praise thereof spends all his might, to make me tongue-tied, speaking of your fame. But since your worth wide as the ocean is, the humble as the proudest sail doth bear. My saucy bark, inferior to his, on your broad main doth wilfully appear. Your shallowest help will hold me up afloat, whilst he upon your soundless deep doth ride. Or being wrecked, I am a worthless boat. Then if he thrive and I be cast away, the worst was this, my love was my decay. What's going on here? Oh, how I faint when I have you do right, knowing a better spirit doth use your name. So, when I'm writing my love letters to you, I pass out because someone else is after you. And in the praise thereof spends all his might to make me tongue-tied, speaking of your fame. Oh, how I faint when I have you to write, knowing a better spirit. And so I become, because of this other guy, I become a bit useless when I'm trying to get to you. But since your worth wide as the ocean is, the humble as the proudest sail doth bear, my source... Okay. But because you're so great, you can put up with a good ship and my rubbish ship. But since your worth wide as ocean is, the humble as the proudest sail doth bear, my saucy bark, my crappy ship, inferior far to his, on your broad main doth wilfully appear. So, because you're so magnanimous, I also appear in your sights. Your shallowest help hold me up afloat, whilst he upon your soundless deep doth ride. So I just get this shallow part of you, whereas he's got the main part of you. So I'm in your shallows, he's in your depths. Or being wrecked, I am a worthless boat, he of tall building. And I might run aground because I'm not as great as him. Then if he thrive and I be cast away, the worst was this, my love was my decay. So if he gets you and I become shipwrecked, cast away, the problem is this, is that really I ran ashore, I ran aground on my passion for you. So what really destroyed me was I was too into you. Oh, how I faint when I have you do right, knowing a better spirit doth use your name. And in the praise thereof spends his might to make me tongue-tied, speaking of your fame. But since your worth wide as the ocean is, the humble as the proudest sail doth bear, my saucy bark, inferior far to his, on your broad main doth wilfully appear. Your shallowest help will hold me up afloat, whilst he upon your soundless deep doth ride. Or being wrecked, I am a worthless boat, he of tall building and of goodly pride. Then if he thrive, and I be cast away, the worst was this, my love was my decay.